You're listening to The Journey podcast. The Journey is a ministry of Southcrest Baptist Church for those in college or college-aged. We hope this podcast helps you find your greatest pleasure and purpose in Jesus.
Hey, welcome to The Journey podcast. So glad y'all are here to listen. Well, that's nice. So evaluation day is in September if you want to try out for the Topo Chico bottle.
Ooh.
You could join the band.
Y'all adding this instrument?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Priority instrument.
Count me in.
Yep.
Yeah. So fun fact, I guess no one really knows him, but this is the town that Angel is from.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Monterey, right?
Yeah, Monterey. He said he would bottle these.
Like he used to do that?
No, I don't know.
I was like, are you serious? I didn't know that about Angel.
How's it going?
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feeling good? You feeling everything in your life going well?
It's going so well.
Yeah.
I was sick last weekend, but I'm better now.
Yep.
I had to replace my AC. Well, not the whole unit, but refrigerant is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, having a great day.
Yeah. You know what I normally say to people that say it's going really well? Don't enjoy it because it's going to come crashing down soon.
Oh, wow. That is so depressing.
That's good, man. Glad that life's treating you well.
How's your refrigerant?
My refrigerant is running.
It's good.
Yeah. It's going.
The heat's
going
coming. Kind of is already here. We already had some 90 degree days.
Yep. We this is boring stuff for the listener, but we just seeded our yard. This is what you have to look forward to after you graduate college. These are the things that get you excited.
It really is true though. Get pretty excited about my yard.
Yeah.
Get a good clean edge on the side, you know?
Yep. Woo. Good clean edge. Funny story about edging my yard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a neighbor across the street. May have heard me talk about him. When we moved into our house about 7 years ago, we would have college students over all the time. And he did not like that.
Because they were just parked in front of his house or something?
Yeah, he didn't like that they parked in front of his house. I remember one time we were hosting we would have a college home group over at our house. Mm-hmm. And this girl who's new to the group parks across the street, and I look out the window, and he has his water hose, and he's spraying her car so that she can't get out of her car until she moves it.
Whoa.
So I walk over, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he was just like, sick and tired of people parking in front of my house. I was like, okay, that's fine. Do you own the street? And he didn't like that. And he was like, I'm not the neighbor you want on your bad side. And I was like, okay, man, see you later. And so I told the girl, go inside. We'll talk to you later. I was like, man, this relationship's just done, you know? And so I leave, and about a week later, I come home one day, and he was in my front yard edging my yard. And I was like, what the heck is going on right now? Why is he got an edger out, and why is he edging my yard? And I was like, everything okay? And he was like, yeah, I just thought I'd help you out. And I was like, okay. All right. We've never talked about it. We've never had any.
Now he edges your lawn, and y'all are best friends. Wild.
Yeah. I mean, I have the freedom to go over and get tools out of his garage if I need to. It is we've come full circle.
Yeah. Did you do a good job? Good clean lines?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's going to be perfect. You should see his yard. Nice. It's immaculate. Yeah. So yeah. Welcome to the Journey podcast.
Yeah. Here we are. That's legit.
Yeah.
I was really hoping, for this amazing, which I guess it kind of is, life change story.
Sorry, I got a text. What'd you say?
I was hanging on the edge of my seat for a segue into talking about the message last night because
Living Sent.
Yeah, Living Sent
I am going to segue.
Mhm.
Okay. We say that every Sunday, every Tuesday.
You're sent.
You were sent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people understand what that means, or do you think it's just kind of a catchphrase for them?
I'm sure that there are plenty that do get it, right? But I mean, right? I'm sure there's a lot that don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense though. But yeah, we can probably help them out, bring them along.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the idea. I don't think you, excuse me, Topo. I don't think you ever, here's what I've learned. I don't think you ever want to just say something and necessarily assume that people are going to understand it completely.
Yeah.
Right. And so even with something that seems simple, like you were sent, I think the goal and desire is for people like to understand like what we mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing when we say you are sent or live sent, right? It is a commissioning statement. Like you're being commissioned to do something as you leave these walls. And so if someone were to ask you, what are you sending me to do?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, I think that is like, that's a good question, right? Like, because, I think you're right. I think there probably are a lot of people that are saying, that maybe we're like, oh yeah, I love that. Like almost as a catchphrase, like what you were saying. But yeah, like you said, like that question of like, what do you even mean by being sent and sent to do what?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that like we're sent to make disciples.
Yeah.
And I guess this is a bit of a cliche, like feels like a canned statement, but it's just true, right? Like to be the hands and feet of Jesus, right? Which doesn't just mean sharing the gospel and making disciples, right? Also just means like caring for people and helping people. But,
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. The hands and feet of Jesus, like you were being sent out to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it on Easter. Like one of the reasons that one of the theories behind like the missing body in the tomb was, hey, the disciples stole the body.
Right.
And the reason they would use that to discount the resurrection is because if, there was someone who actually rose from the dead and that's true, then every person on the planet is going to be called to reorient their life around that person.
Right.
But if someone didn't rise from the dead, and you can just say, yeah, that person, like his followers stole his body out of the tomb, and you can go on and live however you want. And so I think what we're saying is like, hey, the resurrection is true. Like Jesus is alive. And because he's alive, when we say you are sent, we're saying like your life is oriented around him and that truth. And so everything you do when you leave this place, it's almost like Sunday is like a charging station where you get, encouraged and charged up to go out and do what he's called you to do during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when you leave this place, like your life should be oriented around him. Like the decisions you make, the way you operate, the things you say to people, the things you do, all of that, like living sent means all of that comes under the umbrella of, man, Jesus is my king. And so I think to me, that's what makes sense when we hear like you are sent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It makes me think, I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Maybe I had brought it up. There's a book that I really like called Person of Interest. Did we talk about that?
I think you and I maybe off camera.
maybe off camera. Yeah, but the author is J. Warner Wallace. The book that he's really famous for is called Cold Case Christianity. It's really interesting. It's like unique and interesting, partially or primarily because he formerly was a cold case detective, and so he kind of approaches apologetics and stuff from that perspective. And also, like, he's a really great illustrator. So it's not a kid's book at all, right? But like, he does these really cool illustrations, like hand-drawn illustrations that are all throughout the book. So it's really cool. But yeah, the point of person of interest is exactly what you're talking about there. That like, he's trying to make this case to readers that the person Jesus Christ of Nazareth, right? Like, whatever you believe about him, right? He's trying to make the point that like, he is a person of great interest, right? Like the way that he has affected history and everything is kind of what he goes through in the book, like, is really significant. And but yeah, right. Like, at the end of the day, and this is where what he's going to in Cold Case Christianity, right, is that if he did rise up from the grave, right, he really did like die and then was, that's wild. That's crazy. Come back from the dead.
Yeah.
That changes everything. And I think like one thing that's also interesting about that is, isn't it wild that in which I think this is very much just a cultural Christianity thing. Isn't it wild that so many of us, or at least the culture that we live in and observe all the time, like, are like okay with nominally believing that?
Yeah.
Like, I think as you were talking was like, man, what a wild reality. Like, that we believe and preach that Jesus is who he says he was, right? And is, and that he rose from the grave, but yet we can be, I don't want to take us off track here, but I was just thinking about this, like, wait a second. We preach and teach that, yet we live in a culture, like a Christian culture, that so often is, like I said, like nominal.
Yeah.
Like, does that word make sense in this context, right? Like, it's just like, yeah, it's like, I feel like it should be a bigger deal, I think is the point that I'm trying to make. And I'm accusing myself here too. Like,
yeah. Well, let's think about, and I mean, I don't know why I do know why we're talking. I mean, like, the resurrection is the center point of, it's what makes everything, why we do it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Is he worth it? Right. Yeah. Like, is the question, right? It's like,
I saw a tweet, I think around Easter, and it was this atheist professor, and the tweet just simply said, "This is your reminder that dead people don't come back to life."
Okay.
And someone commented on it and said, "Exactly, that's the point."
Yeah.
Like, dead people don't come back to life, but this person did, and that's what makes it so miraculous.
Yeah. That's why it's so big, so important.
And I agree with you. Like, I mean, and here's the thing. I think this is why we need to, man, everything just kind of like connects together, right? Like, everything we talk about, everything that we think about, like, I think of, like, man, how often we talk about, like, you just got to, like, grow in preaching the gospel to yourself, because, like, your inclination in life each and every day is going to be to, like, drift from these truths. Like, it's going to be to, like, drift, like, if you don't remind yourself every day that your life is oriented around the risen King Jesus, like, you're going to find yourself drifting towards things that, like, aren't worthy of worship, aren't worthy of surrendering your life to.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have to make a conscious decision daily to, like, remind ourselves, man, like, Jesus is alive. He is alive.
Yeah.
And he is worthy of my, like, my worship. And I think that's something that, like, I don't necessarily do well all the time. And so I'm guilty of definitely, like, falling short in that area of, like, just not reminding myself daily of, man, he's alive. And I think that's a practice that, like, we need to just continually employ in our lives. A daily reminder that Jesus is alive. And because
Yeah.
he's alive, like my life, like he has say over my life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And like, you talked about Stephen last night, and you talked about your friend Hassan, right? Was his name?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, like in a modern example and then a biblical, like older example, with Stephen. And in both cases, like they clearly felt the weight of their decision to follow Jesus, and like the significance of like what we're talking about here. Like we believe the same things they believe.
Yeah.
Why is complacency so easy to slip into for us, right?
Right.
Like, but for both of them, for Stephen for sure, right? Like, he was the first martyr, right? He was killed for his belief. So right, like he clearly believed it was worth it, right?
Yeah.
He went to the grave, like, and for his belief in Jesus, and then like your story with Hassan, like the threat or like the danger in believing in following Jesus, so real, right? Like and immediate, and I don't know, like how do we, man? Maybe there's a question there, like, dude, how do we do that as Christians that don't have? I mean, there's pressures, right? But like we don't have that like imminent, immediate, like real danger or consequence. Not that they don't exist for us, right? So how do we do that without having that real consequence right in front of us? Oh, hey, I follow Jesus, and here are the consequences. Like, how do we stay like locked in? Maybe that's the way to say it, right? Like, how do we avoid complacency? Like, as Christians that live in a culture that's still, for the most part, like it's okay and normal and fine. You know what I mean? Just to be followers of Jesus.
Man, I don't think you necessarily have to go through those things or have that experience to recognize that Jesus is worth following. But I do think it is more difficult for us. I mean, there's a reason Jesus says I'm going to butcher this, but he talks about like it's easier it's more difficult for like a rich man to get into heaven than to go through the eye, the eye of a needle or whatever. Right. And like, he's not saying that it's impossible for a rich man to get into heaven, but like when we live in a society that like is so dependent on ourselves and and we don't really have need for God.
Yeah.
Or at least we think we don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we have this false facade of like, I can really do it on my own. Whereas like other people in other countries who maybe don't have those same, affluent tendencies or whatever, like they're more apt to go, like, I need God for my daily bread. Like I need him, like I need him to provide these things. And so like, I think you have to recognize in your own life, like, hey, it's going to be difficult for me because of the culture I'm in. And so if I'm not aware of that, then I will like lean towards apathy, and I will lean towards like trying to do things on my own. But like, I think you have to take like to heart what Jesus says when he talks about like in like, especially in the Lord's Prayer, like pray, like, give me this day my daily bread, like rely on him today for the things that you need, not necessarily the things you want, but the things you need today. And like allow that to like take you into a mode of almost desperation for him. And I think that will help with the apathy. I don't know that I necessarily have a great answer for that because I think it is harder.
No, and
our culture.
I think I know we probably need to wrap up pretty quick, but like, I think you're all over something like really good that, like I haven't thought about in a while. And I think it's like so powerful. Like, I don't try not to go anything too lengthy here, but just I've had times in my life, I think, where that was a prayer, like a repeated prayer, to the Lord, right? Was that I want to be thirsty, right? Like for your word, right? And time with you, like, and like hungry for, I want to feel that, right? Cause certainly, right? There's times when it's like, I feel that like apathy and feel guilty about that. And I think it's so interesting. I can not that bad things in my life or whatever happened because God was like, okay, you wanted to be thirsty. Here's the bad things. Like, you know what I mean? Like we could go into the interstellar thing, right? God operates outside of time. So it's not really the way it works anyway. Okay. But right. Like, but really though, like if I think just personally in my life, like times when I've had that prayer and then, man, not at all that I'm like rejoicing. Well, I guess, sorry, not at all that I'm like, yay, hard things happened, you know?
Yeah.
No, but God for sure produced seasons in my life, like following a pretty long season of praying that would happen, where I felt desperate for the presence of the Lord, right? Yeah. Like, but I was through some pretty rough stuff, right? Like, and anyways, I think I'm just processing something that I guess I've processed in the past, obviously, but like, but I think it's an awesome thing for Journey students and anybody listening to think about that, man. Ask the Lord. I mean, it's like a dangerous thing, right? But like, ask the Lord, to give you that desperate hunger for time with Him, right? Yeah. But like, I think maybe it's like real. We're like saying it's like realize that that's pretty scary because, I mean, right? Because like, do I really want to be a son, right? Like someone that following Jesus means I don't get to speak with my family ever again. Like, I don't want that to happen. Yeah. You know, like, do I want to be like stoned to death like Stephen? Like, certainly not. Yeah. You know? But it just makes me think maybe we can wrap with this, you know, any last thoughts you have, right? Like, like Paul, right? Like to live is Christ and to die is gain, right? So like, so if we really believe that and we realize that, man, actually, the most fulfilling, the most life-giving thing is more of Jesus, right? Whether that be in heaven with Him or through suffering here or whatever, right? Like whatever the circumstances, like practical circumstance for us, like application is more of Jesus is like everything that we need and the most fulfilling, like the greatest pleasure and purpose, right? Like that we could possibly have. And so that makes me go, okay, well then bring it on, like whatever that is. Like I hope it's not suffering, but if that's what it takes to bring me closer to Jesus, then bring it on, Lord. Anyways, you got any closing thoughts to that?
No, man.
We got like went heavy and deep pretty quick. Sorry.
That's good. Good stuff.
We're sent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for listening. I know that we were all over the place. Okay. We love y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You are sent. You're sent.